Hello, everyone. So today we are going to start part 7 of Starfish. We should only have about 4 parts left, and I'm hoping to finish this fairly quickly. I've already gone through one of my renews for this book, so by the time the second renew happens, because I get a max of 2 renews on this book, I don't want to have to put this book on hold again. So if the second renew comes around and we haven't finished it, I'm just gonna marathon like the last however much left of the book that I have. But for today, we're gonna go with the standard 10th of the book and we'll see where that puts us. So, different and okay. For history class, we're supposed to write a report about a way in which societies changed over the years. I'm writing about how the world's view of beauty based on size has changed. Of course you are. All right. With the help of our librarian, Mrs. Pochun, I find reliable sources on the internet and books of photos of paintings and sculptures from 100 to 1,000 years ago. They're from cultures around the world and show girls with rolls and curves, girls like me. I learned big girls, even obese ones, were once seen as normal, preferred, beautiful. I can't imagine a world so safe. As I flip through the pages, I start thinking that if I lived back then, it could have been me, in the pictures as sculptures as art. My body seen as pretty. Mrs. Pochun comes and checks to see how I'm doing. Finding everything okay? I'm finding a lot, and it's fascinating. Yes, she says. Ideas of beauty change with time. Who knows what people will think years from now about what we consider beautiful today. After she leaves, I think about this. It would be great if people realized that we're all different in all kinds of ways, and different is okay. But I bet there will always be some who don't get it. What's important is that I do. And I'm gonna have to pause real quick because my dog broke into my room and is now having a fit on my carpet. Alright, I had to kick Doggy Girl out, but I'm back. And quick thoughts on this part. The thing is that I don't think obese was ever seen as normal. It was seen as like a sign of wealth. But to say that it was normal, I think is a bit of an overstatement. I mean, I guess maybe in certain cultures, maybe, but that would still require an abundance of food for everyone to be obese. So, I don't know. I mean, this is it's the message is ham-fisted just like everything else in this book. But let's go ahead and continue. Spewing anger. When it comes to Doc, I'm learning to expect the unexpected. Today she's dressed like the White Rabbit for Halloween. Do you celebrate? She asks. Not so much. Mom's not a fan because of all that candy. I'm not a fan because costumes never fit. It's truly a night of horror. Doc nods and we both laugh when her rabbit ears fall off. When I fork over my list of ugly words, Doc flips through them and stops. Tell me about this one. Chair. I explain what happened in math class and show her some of my bruises. Doc's whiskers twitch when she winces. You should be angry from all the bullying, but I don't see you expressing that emotion. Come with me. We go outside and Doc hands me a bottle of soda. Give it a good old shake. I do, as I show her some side-eye. What's this all about? Patience is a virtue. Her rabbit nose makes a sound as if she has a cold. Patience is a virtue, Doc, but impatience is a gift, and I'm gifted. She laughs until she snorts, sending the fake rabbit nose soaring while I keep shaking the bottle. Now open it, Ellie, but it'll go. Humor me. Don't say I didn't warn you, Doc. A frothy, fizzy fountain spews all over us. That's a perfect example of what happens when you bottle up anger. Whenever you do release it, it's going to make a huge mess. That's okay. So that's the end of that part. But like that's reasonable. Like if you bottle up your anger, it's going to come out in at inopportune times and can come out very messy. Like, I get that. But I don't like how she's saying you should be angry from all the bullying, but I don't see you express that emotion. Maybe Ellie isn't angry. Maybe she's sad. Maybe there's some other conflicting emotions. I don't see a therapist telling a client how they should feel. That seems weird. I don't like this is another one of those things. It almost reminds me of the whole scene with the sister where it's like there's no payoff. Ellie has not shown issues with bottling up her anger to me. Like I have not seen like she's expressed her anger plenty. So I don't get that. Mismatched. I spot Mrs. Pochun willing a cart full of books to the library. If that cart were a book character, it'd be called Cartness Everdeen. Quiet and stealthy, I say, coming alongside her. She laughs. You're so clever. That reminds me. I've been thinking. You'd make a great student assistant. I could really use some help shelving books and creating displays. You could pack your lunch and eat in the library workroom. Interested? Volunteering in the library would keep me away from Marissa and Courtney in the cafeteria every day instead of just when I can slip away. I sure am. I just ask that you always have one display of new releases, but I trust you to decide the other themes. A few of the display areas include bulletin boards. Can you decorate them too? I have plenty of ideas, but I'm not very good at drawing or art. No problem. I know just the student to pair with you. The next day, as I gather books about bullies, in walks one, enemy number 3. As someone who has worked in a school library, I've worked with students and student volunteers. I actually oversee our student volunteers at an elementary school. And I've been to a middle school. A sixth grader would not be put in charge. Well, one, she would need to be trained on shelving because the kids don't necessarily understand how shelving works. And the creating displays, I don't see that happening. I genuinely don't see that happening because we have certain things that are highlighted in terms of equity. We have certain things highlighting based on what the teachers are covering as a way to try to expand student interest. There's a rhyme and reason to the displays that we create. It's not just like at a whim. There's the displays are kind of pointed and go to serve a particular purpose. Sometimes it's just recognizing holidays. Sometimes it is trying to bring attention to a neglected area of the library. Like student volunteers could have their own display of like books that they recommend. That's something that totally could happen, but they wouldn't be in charge of not only creating the displays and choosing the topic, but then decorating the bulletin boards. That would not happen. Like they might assist with decorating the bulletin boards, but the teacher isn't going to leave it 100% in their hands. There's one, that's a lot of responsibility to put on them, and two, you want to kind of monitor what middle schoolers are going to put up there. You got to make sure it's school appropriate because you just like no matter how much you trust a student, no matter how much you trust a student, they're still students and you still kind of have to oversee what they're putting up. This I don't see any volunteer doing that. Not only that, but most middle school libraries, at least where I am, also have an adult library technician that would also serve for that. So, I mean, again, we would still have student volunteers that help straighten the shelves. You can teach them about shelving, and they do enjoy, especially like in the popular sections, like the graphic novels, they can really enjoy shelving in those areas. But to say, I need you to just shelve, she would need to be trained on it. It would probably take a couple of weeks because her time there would be limited. So, that given my profession, given what I know, like this is just a bit um too much responsibility given to Ellie. And I think it's done to show, look at how capable and amazing she is, but it's like no matter how capable and amazing a sixth grader is, they're still a sixth grader. And I would not just leave them, and on top of that, they're a part-time student assistant. I would not leave them like managing the displays is kind of a repeating ongoing task. If they get depleted or something, they need to be refilled. This is something that students would assist with but not be in charge of. All right, pure garbage. A wonderful writer teamed with an amazing artist. Together, you two can do great things, Mrs. Pochon says, leaving us alone to work on the bulletin board and book displays about bullies. Enemy number 3 scans the novels I've pulled. These are all about people being bullied because of how they look. You know, people are bullied for other reasons too. I know a book that'd be good. He heads to the stacks and comes back to hand me one about a boy who's made fun of because of his family. I tell him my idea. The focal point will be a trash can. Then we can create a pocket of blank index cards and a pocket of index cards with great quotes from books, such as, I'm only different to the people who see with the wrong eyes, from Fish in a Tree. Then the bulletin board can say, take out the garbage, stop junking up your mind with stinky things bullies have said to you. Toss them into the trash, then pick up a good thought and replace it. We could use bright colors, draw people's attention. Maybe, he stares at the bulletin board. I know that look. Viv gets it when she's brainstorming. He grabs a sketch pad and colored pencils, draws for several minutes, and then slides the sketch pad over to me. He uses black, red, blue, and purple. He's really good. I'm impressed. Why those colors? Bruises are purple, anger is red, sadness is blue, and black? He starts sketching again. That's how you feel inside when you've been bullied. I don't even think before I speak. How would you know what it feels like to be bullied? You are a bully. His face turns red as if I've smacked him. You're not the only one who doesn't fit in around here, Splash, he mumbles as he starts drawing and cutting the construction paper. Then I get it. Enemy number 3's not just a bully. People bully him because he's poor and wears raggedy clothes. But I just don't understand how someone who's bullied and knows how horrible it feels inside turns around and bullies others. That's pure garbage. Oh my god, there's so many things to comment on this one. One, this is a very sophisticated display idea from 11-year-olds. Like, keep in mind, I believe she's just supposed to be 6th grade, yeah? She's like 11, right? Entirely, like, have you talked with 11-year-olds? This is a very sophisticated idea. Like, they might have the idea of like an anti-bullying display, and because that's what she experienced. Like, that's totally fine, but this whole concept with the trash can and the different quotes and stuff, that is a very sophisticated idea for an 11-year-old. This whole conversation, I would say, even is a bit sophisticated. Like, the conversation of like, you're not the only one that doesn't fit in around here and stuff, and the colors of, bruises are purple, anger is red, sadness is blue, and black is how you feel inside. Again, fairly sophisticated ideas for 11-year-olds. And not only that, but Ellie kind of feels like she's being sanctimonious here with, I was almost hopeful because it seemed like she realizes that people can be bullied aside from how they look. Everyone has their own story, and yes, he has bullied you. I get that. But to end it with, like, but I just don't understand how someone who's bullied and knows how horrible it feels inside turns around and bullies others. That's pure garbage. That ending of that's pure garbage. It's one thing for her to not understand it, but then to kind of place that judgment on it of it's pure garbage. Like, Ellie, you're from a fairly well-off family. Your father's a psychiatrist. You get to go to regular therapy sessions. Chances are this kid, your enemy number 3, doesn't get the benefit of going to therapy to talk about and how to deal with the bullying because he's poor. Like, this, I'm not one to talk about privilege typically, but this reeks of rich girl privilege. Like, this actually makes her less sympathetic to me. I don't know. I just thoughts. I want to hear thoughts on this whole part with the display, with the enemy number 3 whose name I don't remember because he's always called enemy number 3. Let me know. Stuffing. Catalina and I really want to go swimming. It's now one of our favorite things to do together. But it's storming, so we end up listening to music in my room and singing along using licorice as microphones. We've grown so close, we also tell each other almost everything. I even told her about my mom's obsession with inventorying food. So now Catalina brings snacks, along with her guitar. I keep my backpack stocked, she says, licking the spicy coating from her chips off her fingers. Ugh, still red. She heads to the bathroom to wash her hands. While she's gone, I quickly stuff all the trash in her backpack. I know she'll understand why I did it. And I mean, this is a decent representation of how kids could deal with abusive parents hiding shit. All right, moving on. No mirrors. When someone comes to your house, it's easy to forget that what's normal to you can seem strange to others. Catalina looks around my room. I just noticed something. There's not a mirror anywhere. You wouldn't understand. I'm willing to try. She sits crisscross applesauce and strums her guitar softly, like a soothing lullaby. Maybe that's why I start talking. First, I bite into a marzipan, and the crumbly, nutty candy melts in my mouth like powdered sugar, taking away some of the bitterness I feel remembering the day I took down the bathroom mirror. I haven't had a mirror since the day my mom made me look into one while she pointed out everything wrong with my body. I don't tell Catalina what she actually said. Cellulite on your thighs, stretch marks on your arms, rolls of fat on your stomach. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Mirrors are heavier than they look. When I tried to pry mine off the wall, I dropped it, watched it shatter into a bazillion pieces. I saw bits and pieces of me in the shards, and it hit me. That's how people see me, as bits and pieces of fat, not as a person. Again, once like the insanely abusive mother, because we don't even know when this was. Clearly it was before. It's been at least a little bit because she's gotten so used to not having mirrors around the house that it doesn't even dawn on her that that would be something that other people may notice. So this could have happened when she was 10, 9, 8, 7, like really young. Cellulite on your thighs, stretch marks on your arms. Cellulite can just happen. Stretch marks, growing child, if she grows faster than other stretch marks can happen, could be from her weight as well. Rolls of fat on your stomach. Why would you say these things to a kid? Like a young kid. And not only that, again, we go back to any issues that she has around her weight. Ellie's only 11. Any issues she has around her weight solely fall on the mother. What the fuck is going on with this? And then the mirror shattering into a ton of pieces and her seeing bits of herself. Like I could see how that would have like this strange impact on her psyche. Like I could see that, but I don't think that she would connect it to that's how people see me, as bits and pieces of fat, not as a person. Especially since she clearly did this before 11 years old. So, like, it's just entirely too sophisticated a thought process. Maddening cycle. Has your mom always been so terrible? Catalina asks. I let out a sigh. She's obsessed with diets, trying to find the magical one that'll make me skinny. She's got me on one now, or had me on one. I ball up the candy bar wrapper, throw it at her, and grin. Sometimes I wonder why I even try. I mean, I'm not even sure being fat really bothers me. How people treat me because I'm fat bothers me. And her diets don't help? Sometimes, for a while, but not really. It's like I've gotten trapped in this maddening cycle. You're a little overweight as a kid. People hurt your feelings about it. You eat to bury the shame. People hurt you more. You eat more. Infinite loop. Have you gotten teased since you were little? The word is bullied. And yes. People never leave me alone. Not at school, not anywhere, not even at home. I doubt it will ever stop. That is so maddening, Catalina says. She reaches over and hugs me, just like Viv used to. Okay, definitely agree with, especially as young kids, if they're given unlimited access to food, if they have a little bit of a weight problem, like they're a little chubby, and they experience bullying or name calling or anything like that because of it, eating as a form of comfort is something 100% kids can do. That is why I am wondering why the mother has not. Why did she only now go to therapy? Why would, like, I just don't. There's so many about this Ellie's background that does not make sense. And yeah, okay, she's eating snacks with a friend, but honestly, even though she's eating these snacks with a friend, I don't think it would be enough, given that this doesn't seem like necessarily like an everyday thing. I don't think that it would be enough to justify the size that Ellie is clearly supposed to be. She's clearly supposed to be like insanely obese for her age. At least that's the general vibe I've gotten, given some of the things that she can't do. I don't think that eating snacks that her friend manages to smuggle over to her house would be enough to get her to this size if the mother is being heavily restrictive of her food. There's just, it does not add up. Getting somewhere. I hand Doc a mini coffin when she wants to see my collection of the hurtful words people say to me. She turns the box over in her hands. That's where I keep the lists, I tell her. Well, I'll say this for ya. You never fail to surprise me. Why a casket? I could tell her because it was on clearance after Halloween, which it was, but I tell her the whole truth. Journaling showed me I bury my feelings, so it seems fitting. She smiles. Now we're getting somewhere. I included the hurtful stuff I say to me too. Fat girl rule. You need to bully yourself as much as, if not more than, everyone else bullies you. Tell me more about your fat girl rules, Doc says as she flips through them. So these are the rules you live by? I nod. There sure are a lot of them, Ellie. And I add new ones all the time. I used to think I could just follow the rules, then people would stop being mean to me. But duh, that didn't happen. Doc asks to borrow the list to look over all the rules. I tell her I have them memorized. I don't just there's some again the coffin with the burying the feelings and stuff. It feels a little sophisticated for her age. Given if like what we've seen in therapy is what's primarily happened, I don't think it's enough to facilitate this level of sophisticated thinking. And the whole I have them memorized is just to like double down on Ellie's victimhood. There's just so much about this story I don't like. Happy birthday to me. I know two things when my parents hand me a plane shaped birthday card. I'm going to visit Viv over Thanksgiving break, and Dad made it happen. He throws his arms around me. My dad gives the world's best hugs, holding me without smothering and filling me with warmth and love. I lightly hug Mom, try to keep her from feeling my fat. Our hugs are like trying to make puzzle pieces fit in the wrong places. Mom pulls away. Now, Ellie, remember to. Dad clears his throat. She sighs. To have a great time. Away from her, I will. Food brings you together. Catalina invites me to an early Thanksgiving celebration since her family's spending the holiday in Mexico. Relatives pack her house, and I wish I could live in her kitchen. Catalina's mom and aunts cook honey-baked ham, chili rubbed turkey, and mole gravy. Tamales, tortillas, cornbread with jalapenos, rice and beans, and other foods I don't recognize, which smell irresistible. They switch languages, sometimes mid-sentence, from Spanish to English like Bobashi switched from Hebrew to English with Yiddish mixed in. When it's mealtime, it's like a game of musical chairs, as everyone scrambles for a seat. Catalina's dad and abuelo say prayers of thanks, then everyone passes bowls and platters around the table. Once we fill our plates, everyone starts eating, talking, laughing, and no one watches what I eat. The laughter grows after dinner, as we play games and eat dessert, pumpkin empanadas and flan. I feel so happy and relaxed as I return home. How I feel after dinner at Catalina's is so different from how I feel after dinner at my house. when I get muscle cramps from drawing in my shoulders and legs to try to take up less space and make myself smaller. I didn't need to do that today. Catalina's family showed me food can bring you together instead of tear you apart, and I'm thankful. Thanksgiving prayer. The first sign our family Thanksgiving is going to be a disaster is when Liam sticks his finger into one of the bowls and scoops up a mouthful. He quickly spits out the food. These potatoes are spoiled. It's mashed cauliflower, Mom says. Fewer carbs and calories. And never put your finger in a bowl. Dad passes the platter of sliced turkey breast around the table. Then a bowl of steamed Brussels sprouts and the mashed cauliflower. Mom had already dished up what I'm allowed to eat, so I stare at the cornucopia-shaped salt and pepper shakers as I wait for Dad to bless the meal. And I say a Shakespeare-style silent prayer under my breath for an asteroid to hit. Oh, asteroid, asteroid, wherefore art thou asteroid? So where's the rest of the meal? Liam searches the kitchen. The turkey legs, gravy, cranberry sauce, dressing, cream corn? All of that's fat, carbs, and sugar. Mom spears the sprout. So we can't have Thanksgiving like normal people anymore? It's always about Ellie. I'm gonna go find some real food. Maybe one of my friends will take me in. I'm out of here. I actually don't have too much of an issue with this because it kind of, again, though, it's like if Mom is this like tight-fisted about food, I find it hard to believe that Ellie would be as big as she is. And I think I mean, to a certain extent, I understand Liam blaming because I don't, most teenagers, even when they're rebellious, when they feel like they're being robbed of something, I think they're more likely to blame a sibling than they are to blame parents, especially in this situation where Ellie's weight and the food in the house being kind of around Ellie's weight has been an ongoing thing. I think it's pretty reasonable. Um, this is like one of the few things where it's like that's actually not terribly written. Odds are. Like jumping in front of a runaway train, Dad stands up, stops Liam in his tracks. Apologize to Ellie now. Liam looks at me. Sorry we all have to suffer because you're fat. Liam Isaac. Sorry you ruin everything. Liam Isaac Montgomery Hofstein. Sorry you're my sister. That does it. Give me your car keys. Dad stretches out his right hand. Liam digs through his pocket and dangles the key ring midair. How long? After you go 2 weeks without insulting your sister. One insult and we start over with the count. That's not fair. You're right. Make it a month. Liam has to go a month without insulting me. The odds are better that an asteroid will hit. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that Dad is finally standing up for Ellie, but this again feels like something that should be talked about rather than. I mean, there were more times. This is again where it kind of rings hollow because I think Liam had a semi reasonable complaint that he can't have regular Thanksgiving because Mom is worried about Ellie's weight. He's misdirecting that anger 100%, but I think his complaint is relatively reasonable given his age and the circumstances. Was he kind? No, none of these things. I'm sorry you're my sister. I'm sorry we all have to suffer for you. Horrible things he should not say, 100%. But he did more heinous things that would have been better to stand up for Ellie in that circumstance where this kind of carb smart Thanksgiving meal. I understand him being frustrated. He's a teenager. He wants, if you like Thanksgiving food and you get mashed cauliflower, steamed Brussels sprouts, and sliced turkey breast for Thanksgiving dinner, and that's it, I understand him being frustrated. It doesn't mean that he should lash out at Ellie and all that, but I feel like Dad's. I don't know. I feel like this should have been more of a conversation than a punishment for Liam, even though Liam did do some shitty things and maybe he shouldn't have the car, and I agree with that, but I don't know. I feel like there were better moments to call out Liam. This feels like you're overcompensating for not reacting previously. All right, so we are down to our last two parts for this video, so we're gonna just go ahead and go through them real quick. And we have takeoff. Taxing down the runway, the seats shimmy and the plane squeaks, like driving a car quickly down a bumpy road. Soon the nose is in the air. Thump goes the landing gear as the wheels retract, tucked back in like a bird tucks its legs during flight. Everything that seems so big and overwhelming, like school and home, suddenly grows small and slowly disappears. I'm free from it now, free as a bird. Stretching. I have two seats, so I starfish, lean my head against the window, lift the seat arm, and stretch out my legs. When my family flies on vacation, I sit next to Dad. He doesn't care if my arms or legs touch his, but since I'm flying alone, I didn't want to sit next to someone who might throw a fit and say a fat girl's oozing onto their seat. Aunt Zoe's been booted off a flight, forced to walk down the exit aisle while everyone watched, and I've heard about social media posts from passengers who hate to sit next to fat people. Dad has too. That's why he bought me two seats, and I'm pretty sure Mom doesn't know. I mean, I'm glad that they bought her two seats since apparently she needs it, but I don't like that it's framed like these people are awful for being upset that a morbidly obese person is spilling into their space. Like, I don't think that that's unreasonable. I'm sorry that your aunt had that horrible experience, but your aunt probably should have bought two seats as well. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things. This whole thing of painting Ellie as a victim in just every possible circumstance is exhausting. It's exhausting to read. Like, honestly, so all of Starfish was checked out at the beginning of the year. Now, all of the other books are checked out, and Starfish is not checked out at all. Like, we have all the copies in. I think the kids realize that this book kind of sucks, and so they're bored and not reading it. And I can't blame them. It's boring. It's boring. Ellie is nothing but like it's like a series of unfortunate events only without anything interesting happening and completely about a fat girl. It it's like one thing after another. Nothing ever nice ever happens to her, or at least not for long before it's replaced with something terrible. There's just and even the moments where she's supposed to have like a little victory aren't written well. The whole thing with her sister, who was a non-character forever and then all of a sudden apologizes and shit, zero didn't feel the payoff in that at all. Like her sister had done nothing and now is all of a sudden apologize. Like it just didn't work for me. And then the dad standing up for her against Liam. Liam has done shit before that was really rude, and the parents should have put a stop to it. Now that he has kind of a legitimate complaint of I don't want to eat this healthy, like carb smart Thanksgiving meal because my sister is obese, I kind of, given that he's a teenager, I understand that. Does he should he insult his sister? No, but this is your hill to die on? Dad, really? Not when he was teasing her about someone taking the bolt out of her chair and humiliating her in math class? That would have been a perfectly fine situation. What's going on here? Like, I understand that it was just maybe the straw that broke the camel's back, but it doesn't work for me in the standing up for Ellie because it seems like a more minor and more understandable grievance that Liam has versus previously, where he was just being a dickhead. I mean, he's still being a dickhead, but I don't know. There's just something about it where I'm like, there were better opportunities for Dad to stick up, and now it's like because it was a low stakes one, and he's not like it wasn't as bad as some of the other ones. Now Dad's standing up, really. I just I don't I don't care for this book at all. It's poorly written. I'm glad that the kids even seem to realize that it's poorly written and are not nearly as interested in it. We have about 3 parts left. Thank God, because it's boring as shit. But at this point I want to see it through. So we'll just finish it off. But thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves and I'll see you next time.